Hello, I'm Melissa. I write books. Welcome to the video. I wanted to introduce you to my glasses because I realized I wore them in the last video and it was probably very confusing. These are called easy readers. They have mirrors in them so that you can read at a 90-degree angle. So if I have this document and I have it like right here, I can just have my neck right like this and I'm seeing this paper so I can like write on it. Let's see if it works for you. Can you see horizontal? Don't look there. Creepy weirdo, stop that. I bought a pair of these like 2 years ago and I wore them twice and then I lost them. I have no idea where they went. And I've been like, oh, well, I'll just find them. I don't want to buy them again. 2 years have gone by. And they were like $10, but I got them again. What people usually use them for is like you can lay in bed and read and have your book like this and not have to like crane your neck. Even in my last video, I was using them just to annotate. Should I bring these to the coffee shop with me, do you think? I already get enough weird looks at that coffee shop with all of my papers looking like a mad woman, so I don't know if I need to add the glasses to that combination. But as you may have surmised, we're going to a coffee shop this morning. I should update you. When I tell you I have gone to this coffee shop, take a shot every time I say coffee shop. Ooh. I've just accepted that this is my life. Also, the rewards are really good and I get like a free coffee every like 3 times or 4 times I go there. Like a free black coffee. If I wanted like a specialty drink or something, it would be less. It's still like, I'm still spending more money than I need to on coffee shops. Usually when I go, I stay for like 2 or 3 hours. So it's like, am I really paying $7 for a coffee and a pastry, or am I paying $7 to sit? When I'm productive in a space, I just want to be there. And I am doing some writing here. What I'm doing right now is line editing. I'm on Act 2, Part 2. I'm actually well into Act 2, Part 2 right now. Yesterday, I was there for 4 hours, I think, 3 or 4. And tell me why most of my chapters are 3 to 4 pages. Like Word document pages. So probably more like 7 book pages, you know? Tell me why this chapter was 11 and it's all in the same room and it's all in the same scene, and for what? And then the next chapter, guess how long the next chapter is? 2 pages. It's really okay. It's really okay. It's one of those chapters where it's just like, we just need everyone to be on the same page. The last time I was at this section, I rearranged some things, like I combined some chapters, because Act 2, Part 2, in every book I've ever written, you just have to do a lot of explaining typically, because in thriller especially, the first half of the book is like the setup and we're meeting everybody and we're learning like what is the introduction to this conflict, and like the conflict is escalating but we still don't really know what's at the heart of the conflict, right? We know there are stakes but we don't know the true stakes for the characters. Like it's all just kind of like building, right? Typically for me at the midpoint, what a midpoint does is it takes this conflict that we introduce at the beginning and like makes it really, it might already be personal for the main character, but the midpoint I think is always a turning point where it's like, okay, we can't ignore this anymore. Now we need to solve this right now. Like it's not something that could be affecting us. It's something that is affecting us. And if we don't do something, it's going to destroy everything, you know? And it just really clarifies the personal stakes and it forces the protagonist into action. I mean, something similar happens at the beginning of Act 2. After the inciting incident, the character is forced into action. Usually the first half of books though is where we like our main character has said yes or said no or committed to this journey that they're gonna go on, but they don't really know the full extent of what they're getting themselves into. And I think at the midpoint, they know what they've gotten themselves into. They know the pile of shit that they're in. And now they have to like, it's like do or die. We have to deal with this with a plan that's usually gonna go wrong. What ends up happening then for me is after the midpoint, usually a lot of information is revealed or clarified, like stakes are clarified and everybody needs to get on the same page in the beginning of Act 2, Part 2 so that we can enact a plan that will get us to the climax, right? A plan that will go wrong. This is just Alyssa's version of Save the Cat, welcome to the video. But what that ends up meaning for like, okay, it's like, okay, yeah, sure, but what does that mean for the scenes? It means we're talking a lot because we have to just explain. But it's not just like, oh, we're sitting in a room and having like it's a scene and it has a goal and stakes and all this stuff. But in the past version of this, I wanted to spread out the explanation because I was like, I don't want to info dump. So it was like, okay, we have the first scene is like, oh, we're explaining a little bit. And then the second scene, we're like walking to the car, explaining. The next scene, we're in the car, explaining. The next scene, we're in the parking lot after we've driven to the location, explaining. And I'm like, girl, I know what you were going for, but it's much easier for the reader if we just explain most of this. And so in my last draft, I had taken like all of those scenes of explanation and kind of condensed them down. I actually put some of the information earlier into Act 1 so that we get a little bit more build up. And then I'd put most of the information in this big scene, and then I'd saved a little bit for later. But what ended up happening then is now I have this huge monster chapter, and then I have this 2-page chapter that has no like internal scene flow or structure or anything. And also the explanation scene is a lot of like logistics, explanation, blah, you know. And in thrillers, I like to balance that with the emotion. And there's a lot of emotion in that. Actually, it's a lot of emotion in that scene. After a scene like that, you need something that propels the action forward. The way that the chapters were flowing is that the next one was another scene where it was like logistics, explaining, justifying. And I'm like, okay, I need a scene that moves us somewhere and like develops some things that happen later on. And that scene exists, it's just the next one. So I'm kind of flipping 2 POV chapters. And so at the coffee shop, I just kind of like rearranged the papers and like figured out how that would work. And I also am going to add, for Dani, she's missing some sort of interiority a little bit right here in the plot. Usually she has a lot of interiority, but I think just given the way I chopped up all the chapters to make the explanation work, we haven't really addressed what she's feeling early enough. Like, we have her in Cal's POV in this explanation scene after this major thing happened, but we don't have her bearing the weight of this, what's happened. And so, but she does a little bit of that in this other scene that's later that I'm moving earlier. This is so confusing. I just want to open the chapter in a different way. It opens in this like, it's sort of trying to be like quirky and blah. And I'm like, this is not the time, Alyssa. This is not the time to talk about the work-life balance crisis. This is not the time. This is the time to feel, okay? There's some things I need to get Dani to for the ending. And I think she gets there, but like, I want the payoff to be bigger, because this section is also tricky because Cal, his journey at this point, it's very clear that he's going through it. Like in the action, in the scenes, he's going through it. He's going through it, and he has been for a while. This man, I really just said, you never get a break ever. But with Dani, she is spiraling, but she's in this situation, she's like in control, sort of. Like, she's the one seeing Cal's mess. I don't know how much of this I'm gonna keep in. And trying to fix it for him. But also at the same time, she is spiraling majorly. And I feel like in her chapters, I'm getting across her trying to do all this stuff with Cal, but I think I'm not getting across the way that she crumbles, you know? Because the scene where she crumbles is there, but I feel like it feels a little cheap right now. Like, I want to see her, it's like a scene in a movie where the character seems like all super happy, and then there's like a dolly zoom, and the character just like leans against the fridge and like thinks about the past. And then someone's like, hey, is everything okay? And they're like, yeah. You're like, I need that. I need more of that. And the point of in TV is to like illustrate they're going through something, they're thinking about something, maybe there's a flashback or something. How many times can I say something? Take a shot every time I say something. Take a shot of water. Well, welcome to the video. Sometimes it's nice to do these clips before I go and write, because now I feel like, okay, now I'm kind of thinking through. All of that, I have to tell you, I just came up with now as I was verbally processing. Like, I probably would have gotten there while writing, but I had not had it in my head that I needed to get Dani there until I just like talked it out with you guys. So thank you. Thanks for chatting. Sometimes I think like when I'm like world famous, not even world famous, because that sounds stressful, but like when I'm making enough money off my books, but I guess I'm not making any money here either, so I don't know why that would be an if I'm ever like old and gray, would I still want to do YouTube? How else am I gonna verbally process? Just to know one? Yeah, I'm gonna annotate through these three chapters and try to, and like write in some of these like emotional stalls and like checkpoints for Danny. I don't think it's huge changes. And this is what my amazing beta reader, Catherine again, welcome to the video, was pointing out as she said, like, I get why, maybe she didn't say this and I'm just paraphrasing. It makes sense to me why Danny's feeling, like why she would feel that way, but we don't ever see her actually feeling that way. And so she's like, as a reader, I feel like that's what she should feel, but I don't know if we see enough evidence of her going through it. It's just more interiority. The moral of the story is I need more interiority and to describe chairs more. And then I did this thing. Why do I always do this? Where it's like, we're watching something through a screen. Why? Why do we do this? Why? I'm watching through the screen and I'm trying to, stop. But I'm gonna keep it in because this time it makes sense. Also, why is everybody always on the phone in this book? Nobody talks on the phone anymore, Liza. Actually, I talk on the phone very frequently. I think phone calls are in, everyone. Go talk to someone on the phone, it's fun. It's like a podcast, but you're the host. And you can talk about whatever you want and there's no ads. Wow, 15 minutes later, welcome to the video. Let's go to this coffee shop. I'm also gonna buy a suitcase. And then I'm gonna try to stay at the coffee shop until like 3:30, because I have something at 3:30. That would be a lot of hours. That would be like 6 hours. You know what? Let's do it. Let's do it. Okay, everyone, it's now 1:30. I was at that coffee shop. You guys, there's something about it. There's something about that. Look at how many pages. Can you see that? That's how many pages I just edited through. And okay, let me just say this, because I feel like sometimes I start a writing session and it's like, and 2 minutes in, I'm like, oh, I don't think this is gonna be a good one. Keep going, because that's how I was feeling. I was a little distracted. The coffee shop was very busy. I was like, I don't know. I think I line edited 20 pages, and I rearranged these. It's 3 chapters, 3 full chapters, and I rearranged them within the inch of their life. I'm gonna read to you now the order, the number that's on the top, because I have numbered pages, the number that's on the top of these pages in a row, because it sounds insane. So, as you would expect, we start with page 152, then it goes to page 148. Okay, 152, then 148, then back to 153, then 154, 55, 156, 157, but it's only the top half of 157, and then I ripped it in half because the second half of the scene goes somewhere else. So this is the first half of 157. Then we go back down to 149. Ready? And then we go to 150, classic, 151. That chapter was just needed a line edit. Then we go to the bottom half of 157. And then we go to 147. So the bottom half of 157, then to 147, then to 158, and then to 159, and then to 160. Believe it or not, it makes so much more sense now. It was essentially like 2 Danny scenes, and in the middle was a Cal scene that didn't really change. I had just like disseminated information between these 2 scenes, and originally she had been like in the one chapter she was in, like she was at home and then she was also at the office, and then in the second scene she was just at the office. So I essentially moved all the stuff from the office in that first chapter into the office in the second version of the chapter. That one was the office only chapter was so short, and I just didn't think we needed it. It was like too quick of a transition of location, and it just like didn't quite make sense. The chapter that happened at home and in the office was like 10 pages, and the chapter that happened just at the office was 2 pages, so I just kind of like literally took 1.5 pages and like put it in, but also deleting and rearranging a lot of things. I also think I did manage to hit the emotional impact a little bit better, but I'm almost done with Act 2 Part 2. We're like almost at the Dark Night of the Soul, which does make sense because this was 20 pages. And yesterday I edited like 15 pages. My brain is totally fried. I think I got to that coffee shop around 11. and I left around 1:30. Did I get there at 11? I feel like it was earlier. I feel like it was 10:30 or something. I was there for at least 2 hours, at least 2.5. And I really, really found the flow. This was a tough section because of it. It's always been a tough section because Act 2 Part 2 is what I struggle with the most. And I feel like if you've been here since the beginning of this channel, like 2 years ago, I think every single video that I talk about Act 2 Part 2, I say like, it's the worst. I don't know if it's the worst for every type of book. Like maybe Act 2 Part 2s in fantasy novels are like really fun. But in thrillers, they're just horrible because you have to explain so many things and there's so many different ways that you can explain. And there's a lot of wrong ways, but there's also a lot of right ways. And it's just like a difficult thing to balance and sit with. And also time is always so weird in Act 2 Part 2 because it's usually recovering from a big midpoint and then it's like, do we do a time jump? Is this all happening in the same day? Like what, how much time? And if we have a large amount of time pass for the character, like how do we get the reader to be emotionally with them after that time jump, you know? Like how do we make the audience feel the right way about the information and like about how they're reacting? And I really want to get reactions and reflection scenes right because those are my favorite scenes, and it really it sinks a book for me when reactionary scenes are done poorly because that's what I'm reading a book for. I love an action scene, don't get me wrong, but every time I'm in an action scene, I'm excited because I know we're gonna get a reactionary scene afterwards where people are like decompressing and talking to each other about it and like maybe hugging, maybe like having an emotional, like a connection, like being there for each other, like feeling things. Like that's always what I'm excited about in books. And so I really want to get these reactionary chapters right while also setting us up correctly for the ending. And when I was writing the first draft of this book in NaNoWrimo 2023, which I did daily vlog me writing the first draft of this book, so if you want to go back, I skipped this whole section. I skipped to Act 3. I think I wrote Act 2 Part 2, but I just kind of like wrote, here's what they talk about, and then I moved on to Act 3. This is that section that I skip, and I have skipped it actually in so, like the wedding season I skipped that my first draft, and Sunshine that I just wrote in November of last year. I skipped Act 2 Part 2 because, and that does make sense for me in drafts 1 because if I don't know quite how the ending comes together, I don't know fully how to set up for the ending. But I think in the future, I'm gonna, once I know the book, like the first thing I'm gonna do with Sunshine when I go back to it, which is gonna be hopefully someday, when I'm done with this stinking book, when I go back to Sunshine, the first thing I'm gonna do is write Act 2 Part 2. Actually, the first thing I'm gonna do is read it and like figure out what does Act 2 Part 2 need, and then I'm gonna write it, allegedly. But the moral of the story is, I'm very happy with how that went. Like every time I work on Act 2 Part 2, I'm like, oh, this is so much better. And then I come back to it again and I'm like, ooh. Like I read this chapter and I was like, ooh, it's just not hitting. It's just like, it's not bad, but it's not hitting. And I want each scene to hit, you know? And then I'm like, is it just because I'm tired? And honestly, the next scene, I love the next scene, but I think it's not hitting. And now I feel like, I mean, this is the thing. The real test will be when I transpose this, like a composer or whatever, into the book. That'll be the real test. This next scene. I love this next scene. But I don't know if it hits. But we can't think about that yet because my brain is like toast. It is toast. Because I was just like, I was just staring at the wall and then I was like circling and crossing out. And it's like, I have all these symbols. Can you see it? That's one of them. Literally, this is the first page I annotated. And then there's page like, where even is it? It was so, this, and then this page, which was like, this page I edited like 50 minutes later. I was editing this page and I was like, oh, this paragraph, I'm cutting most of it, but I like this little interiority thought that she has about Cal, so I'm gonna put this here 2 chapters earlier. But the kicker is that this chapter originally came before this chapter, so it makes sense. Like, so adding in that interiority into the earlier chapter helps it hit more. I was like, I was like the bottom half of this one. And so I used the trick where you like fold the paper back and forth a bunch of times and then like split the paper apart so I could like put everything in the order it's supposed to be in. And this is like half of a paragraph that goes into the other half of the split. I'm gonna be so for real. I have not felt like a writer this much in a while. And I actually, low-key, what is going on with my hair? Oh my word. We're gonna go Colonial Boy. Okay. I think this might be my favorite part of the process. Are you mad? For this book, I don't know. Drafting it was really fun. Draft 2 was horrible. It was horrible. Draft 3 was also pretty miserable, but all fun. But this draft, it feels like this book is a book now. And now it's like I get to enjoy that the book is decent and good. Like I get to enjoy the parts of the book that are good. And then like I can see so tangibly the book getting better so quickly with this kind of edit. Like I edit the scene and I'm like, wow, that was so much better. Like if you watch my line editing video from I think a couple weeks ago now, I don't know, time is moving weirdly this time of year. I feel like you can even see in that video how much better the scene becomes in just like 40 minutes of line editing. Like truly line editing. I don't ever think I have line edited like this before. I mean, I haven't done it on paper and maybe that's why it feels like I've never done it before. But I think I just know so much more now. Like, I feel like my skill has just up-leveled a little bit and where I don't think I would have seen this type of stuff. Specifically in my first book for sure. In my second book, I think I saw it a lot more. But this book, I just like really feel like I know what I'm doing, which is weird. I mean, not for every scene, obviously, but when I come upon a problem, it's not like, I'll just ignore that because I don't know how to fix it. Now, like I have ways to go about fixing it and it feels really exciting. I have been writing at a weird time of day. Recently, I've been writing from like 4 to 6 p.m. I've just been skipping my lunch and writing from 4 to 6 p.m. in a coffee shop. Sometimes I'll go in the morning before work from like 7 to 9. But I've been writing like during the day, which is so weird, but I really like it. Don't get me wrong, I love the 6 a.m. moment. But when you write at 6 a.m., it's kind of a gamble of if you're gonna feel super, super tired and get a lot done. Like I feel like it takes longer to get into it because it's 6 in the morning. I do think I will return to 6 a.m. writing, but I don't know if it's gonna be right now. Maybe it'll be a seasonal thing because I just really love to go to bed and to sleep in in the winter because it's so, like I just feel like that's like the time of year, you know? And in the summer, I like when the sun is up at 5:30, I will wake up at 5:30, I will, and I will actually get out of bed, you know? I remember even like watching back on those 6 a.m. lives in the summer, like I was so much more awake. That first sprint actually was really productive, but right now I haven't written at 6 a.m. in like months now. I keep trying to get back to that, and I just think I'm just gonna accept like right now it's just not working for me, and something else is, and so I'm gonna lean into that for a little bit, and as the seasons change, maybe I'll get back to the 6 a.m. or maybe it's like a 7 a.m. You know, like do I need to get up at 7 a.m.? Like at this point in time, especially this kind of thing where like I need my brain to be ready to rumble. And my coffee was free today because my rewards, so didn't even spend any money. Are you impressed? But I did before that go to Target and spend about $100. Because I'm going on vacation and I need a suitcase. My suitcase that I've been using is like from middle school. And then I got some sunglasses that I think fit my face frame better. I have those like huge circle ones, which I love for the drama, but I don't think they actually are my face shape. So I got some other ones. Maybe you guys can be the judge. I'll grab them. Don't tell me if they look bad because I think they look cute. So that's one. I think that the thinner frame is better for my face because I have a round face, apparently. I don't know. I just have a face. So those are my sunglasses that I got. And I also did, I caved, I got deep end. It's long, like Allie, was it that serious? 428 pages for a contemporary romance? Miss Nam. I'm sure I've heard a lot of it as spice, which I don't particularly love, but I do love Allie Hazelwood. I haven't read a lot of her recent stuff, like Not in Love. I don't think I read that one because I just heard it was like really, really, really spicy, which I've heard about this one too, but this one, the concept intrigues me a little bit more. Whereas the last one, like, I just like wasn't that interested in the premise. But this one is like a swimmer and a diver, and I'm like, put me in. Maybe this will motivate me to get back in the pool. And they're going to the Olympics? Hello? And she's going to med school. Of course she is. She's recovering from an injury. She has no time for relationships. Ah, but she's gonna make time. Okay, but like, this is a gorgeous edition. Are you kidding? And this is like, can you see the texture? I saw somebody on Instagram being mad about making special editions for things, and I'm like, let me have joy. Like, I understand overconsumption is bad, but like, I think that we can have joy with special editions. It's not like they made 80 different versions of this. This is just how the book is. And I think we need more joy. I think I'm gonna go on a run, and then I'm gonna do my taxes. Barf. What is this clip? Oh, it's been 23 minutes. Excellent, excellent. So anyway, I'm gonna go on a run and do my taxes, and I'm babysitting tonight. So, oh my gosh, these end pages, hello. I think there's probably gonna be some spice in a pool, which I don't really personally need to read that as someone who frequents many public pools. Don't need to have that image in my head. But I'm very confident I will finish. Well, very, very confident. Very confident is maybe not the best thing. Tonight I plan to implement most of that into the document and kind of like catch up, and then tomorrow working on up until the Dark Night of the Soul, which is the beginning of Act 3. Like, I would be kind of surprised if I didn't get through that today and tomorrow, which means I still do have Act 3, and I did want to be done with the book before I went on vacation, but I just didn't think that's gonna happen. I think instead you're gonna get a vlog that's like finishing my book in paradise, which actually is a banger title and thumbnail, so we're gonna go with that. And again, I've said it 100 times, I'll say it again, Act 3 I think is in better shape. Like, I don't think I'll have to do this paragraph scene rearranging that I'm doing right now for Act 2 Part 2. Even when I finish this line edit, you guys, I think I might do another pass. Don't be mad at me, okay? Don't be mad. I'm for sure gonna read through the second half of the book again, because there's some scenes that I don't know, because I had to do such major reconstructive surgery on them, specifically the midpoint. I just feel like they need one more pass, because every other chapter when I was line editing, I was literally just focusing on the lines, and then these ones I was focusing more on the paragraphs, so I wanted go through and make sure that all reads well and make sure I don't have any other line edits that I maybe didn't think about because I was worried about restructuring paragraphs. Yes, so I'm probably gonna read through the second half again. And then I think I'm gonna send it to a paid beta reader. Remember, you wanna know something bizarre? Back when I did my 24-hour writing challenge, right before I started having all of my anxiety, which if you don't know about that, just click on Alyssa and the Books and go back and you'll see me having a crisis and a thumbnail and you can watch that video. But my goal was to get this whole thing done by February 10th. So delusional, and I'm so glad that that didn't happen because I think I would have rushed to make it happen. And no way. It needed more time than that. It just needed it. I'm feeling good about the time it has taken. I think everything really does happen with intention, and so yeah. And then I'm thinking when I send this to a paid person, I might also order myself a print copy to read through. But then, you guys, then I have this whole thing where I'm like, okay, well, I'm probably gonna find more things when I change the format, like to a print copy, like a bound print copy. I'm probably gonna notice things. So I'm like, should I wait to send it to a paid beta until I already do that? Because I really do think everything makes sense now. No, you guys, I think I'm actually gonna reread the whole thing before I send it. And not just the second half, because oh, is that gonna send me into a crisis though? I think it will. I think it will send me into a crisis, which is maybe a problem. Anytime I have to read the book from beginning to end, it sends me into a crisis, which is a problem. Maybe it won't this time. Maybe it'll be really, really, really good and slay. We're gonna be where we are. I'm gonna work. Oh, it's been 30 minutes I've been talking. Good Lord. Okay. Yeah, okay, let's go. Let's do something else. Okay, I'll see you later. Okay, good morning. It's Sunday now. I didn't do any writing yesterday, so maybe won't get through Act 2 Part 2 today. I'm actually gonna walk to the coffee shop. I think it's about a mile. This might be a longer, I'm gonna look and see how far it is. It'll be like a 20-minute walk, yeah. Perfect. So I'm gonna do that because it is like 50 degrees out right now. It's wild. So crazy. And so I'll be implementing the stuff from yesterday. No new updates, that's just what I'm doing. I might get a few clips on my phone. I fear there is like no B-roll in this video. It's like such a mixed bag. I feel like the last video I was like, I have buckets of B-roll so much. I'm doing so many things. And now I'm like, I don't really want to film. But I think most of you are just here for me chatting anyway. I'll try to get a couple clips. But you guys, I'm literally going to the same coffee shop that I go to every time. So it's not like there's anything new or interesting. This is my challenge. I'm gonna find something interesting to film at the coffee shop. It's gonna take, the coffee shop closed a little earlier today. So I would only have like 2.5 hours total, which I don't think I've ever actually stayed at a coffee shop for more than 2.5 hours, except maybe yesterday. I was there for a long time yesterday, but I think even that was only 2.5. So we'll see if I can get through all of this. I think I would actually be fine if I have like a significant amount to do on vacation, because I'll just have a lot of time and it'll be fun. So let's go on a lovely walk.
Shows like parks and recreation. You just ended a long-term thing, and that was just a